SwissBorg is the official partner of my channel where you can buy, sell, hold, and more importantly stake your cryptocurrencies. You can even earn yield on your stablecoins. Sign up with my link and you'll earn up to $100 worth of their native token CHSB just for depositing €50 worth of crypto. SwissBorg. Hello everybody, let's have a look at some price action then, shall we? As we have basically moved all the way up towards that $25,000 zone. The zone that we were speaking of for a couple of weeks, and the zone that was basically marked off by the 200 simple moving average on the weekly. So ever so slightly front run that. This is what you'd expect. Always try to front run a major target like this, because Captain Noobmaster will like to put his figures in at 25,000 exactly. So front run Captain Noobmaster. Now, speaking of Captain Noobmaster, he's providing he bought the bottom, which he probably didn't. He's been loving it, and like I was saying on yesterday's video, this portion of price action at this stage in the market very much feels like this portion of the price action at this stage in the market, the beginnings of the bull market 2019. But yeah, just to put things into context, you know, when things sort of move and rally this far, this fast, yeah, there are targets to be aware of. Obviously 10 to 12 was one back around here. That was my first major target. But it rallied all the way up to 14,000, which was compliments of Captain Noobmaster himself, and recognized that we did consolidate for effectively 6 months and basically go sideways for about 18 months after that. So let's not get too ahead of ourselves, but you probably clicked on this video because I'm going to create some kind of clickbait. And it's based on TA as well, and so it's not shameless. And you should know me if you've never watched me by now. If anything, I'm infamous for my reality checks, to be honest. Trading based around trend and momentum, but highly I suppose fluent with the risk factor of any trade. So we've got a massive major target which is sitting around 31 to 32, and above that is another major target sitting roughly around 38. Okay, so we're going to draw those lines in now because we love a line on this channel, and to be honest with you, lines make a big difference to trading. We've been trading these lines since forever, whether it be to the up or to the down. And if anyone has been watching my channel over the last week, I know I had a few days off, but 5 days ago saying buy the dip. Are you going to wait for 25,000, or are you going to pull the trigger at 21,500, which is what I did. Then I spoke about the V-shaped recovery, which is basically based around all these altcoins and Bitcoin hitting their 200 exponential moving average on a 4-hourly, which is a retest of a golden cross, which is a standard V-shaped recovery formation. This is something that we've been looking at on the Patreon for ages, saying, look, just, there's a golden cross, let's just sit back and wait for it. Okay, it might not ever happen, but if it does, that's your opportunity. And I took the opportunity. Only on Bitcoin though, only on Bitcoin, because I recognize that Bitcoin is driving this market, and with that, altcoins, some will outperform, some will underperform, but generally speaking, Bitcoin is the main driver. And you will see that on the dominance chart in a moment. So just before we go into Bitcoin and I explain the targets of Hopium on the higher term time frames of $32,000 to $38,000 for a Bitcoin in the reasonably short term time frames, but based around weeklies and 3 dailies. Let's just have a think about the S&P for a moment. Well, the S&P is basically trending up on its 10 exponential, with a golden cross on the exponentials forming today, and a golden cross on the simple moving averages forming last week, a couple of weeks ago, in fact. So this is a strong trend now that's continuing to move up. We've also got pump signals that were generated all the way back down here at 4,000. So yeah, 4,000. And I'm bullish on the S&P provided we are above 4,000, which means that we should technically still think about stocks as bullish, which is fine, because we look at the Dixie here, and again, I'm looking at the Dixie today rather than the Euro, because the Euro is actually looking a little tired, but that's fine because we've been waiting for that pullback on the Euro for a little while anyway. We're looking at the Dixie here on a daily, getting a rejection on this pretty significant area. Again, a horizontal zone of significance. Tops, supports, and breakdown. So we're back up to this level, which is also just around this 50 exponential moving average. Now, I'm not gonna try and explain or make the case that this is a bearish chart, like super bearish. We've already come down a lot. Again, if anyone watches this channel, you'd all be more than aware that I called the top on this Dixie. when everybody was telling me it's going to 120 and blah, 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 blah. You know, I called the exact top and had a hero's short on this. Now, we do have a golden cross on the 4-hourly, so and then that would be reasonable to expect a retest of that, which would be a little bit further down. But the Dixie going up or down, especially when it's down at these lower ranges, doesn't necessarily have to correspond to price action. And yesterday we saw upside with the Dixie. We did close down, but we saw upside with the Dixie. We saw downside with the Euro, and we saw an absolute super mega pump take place for Bitcoin. So let's not get too ahead of ourselves. The Dixie is down. The dollar is worth a lot less now than it was several months ago when I called the top. And so we should think about the dollar being just generally lower, which means that asset prices should be able to trend at this level. And we could take all these charts like the S&P and Bitcoin seriously about what it is that they're saying. We recognize also now that the rate hikes and CPIs are having less of an impact. We even had a slightly hotter CPI report than was expected. And look where we are right now. You know, what am I up now? 15% since the dip area was bought. Bought this 21,500 zone. Yeah, so I'm up 15% in less than a week. That's not bad at all. And some of these altcoins will be the same, and some will be more, some will be less. But either way, so let's put this into context then. We're looking at this on a weekly, okay? So this is a major area, this 200 simple moving average. A rule of thumb, this is something I was explaining on our Patreon last night. And again, you might as well think about joining that. If we are entering a bull market, then which I think that we are, over now in the next few years, there's going to be lots of setups. And the good thing about the Patreon is that we all bring our setups to the table. And through that, we find things that we would never normally find before. And we sort of, I suppose, break it down to see if it's worth the risk or not. But we were talking, or I was talking last night about the rule of thumb for an investment potential. So anyone who's looking to invest in something, bear in mind, like, you know, BlackRock and Coinbase are trying to push through this spot ETF to allow huge amounts of institutional money to pour in for spot, which is good because that means Bitcoin's getting taken off the market. If anything's going to raise the price, that's the way to do it. We're thinking about long-term investments for any asset, and the general rule would be: are you above the 200 weekly moving average? And at the moment, we're not. At the moment, we've came up and we've just sniffed it and we're below it. So technically, for anyone who's serious about investing into anything for the long term, you know, the best risk to reward will be based around whether price action is above or below this 200 weekly. And again, we're below it right now. However, you and me, we sniff around this Bitcoin chart on a daily basis anyway. And we speculated that the lows were going to be in and that they would mimic the lows of the S&P, which I said are most likely in. And again, you know, we bought this, and I said we're going to sail up to 19,500, and here we are, all the way up at 24,000, almost 25,000. So, you know, there are other ways to trade, but from an investments perspective, most large investments would only really go into a chart once it's above a 200 weekly moving average. And again, we're not there yet. My expectation would be, if we start to reclaim that, move up, maybe to the 32, maybe up to the 38, and then back down again and prove this to be a support level, then I would imagine that large investment is going to start falling into this then. Because from an investment's perspective, the risk is less than the reward. The reward outweighs the risk is the best way to say it once you're above this level. Being below here, still fraught with risk. The risk is still high for those who want to pour in huge amounts of cash. And Bitcoin can take that. I remember trading Bitcoin when a daily trading volume of like 500 million was like the peak of a parabolic run. Now, on just a day like today, we're trading at just short of 10 billion USDT on Binance's chart alone. It's a different market. It's a growing asset. It's not what it was. This is full of money. Lots of money to be made. Lots of liquidity involved. And I think it's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So, that's enough of me touting. I sound like Max Kaiser, don't I? Anyway, so the reason I think we're likely to move up to here is with the fact that we're not overheated by any stretch on money flow index on this weekly. If we're looking for a major pop or a major peak in the market, whether it's the bull market pop or a parabolic run at the beginning of a bull market, we normally look for a money flow index of extremes. And at the moment, we're basically floating just around 60, which is not really an extreme at all. It's very much a comfort zone. Also looking at the MACD here, we've not even crossed above the 0 point. So again, all of this is worth taking on board, because if we're looking for long-term continuation over the next few months or so, these are the sort of reads that you'd be looking to find on volume and momentum. These are all the sort of things that you would definitely check to see, has it got further to go over the midterm? And I think it does. We're having a reset here on the 3-day, because the 3-day was pretty hot, I have to say, back around there, but it's resetting. You can have a look at this yourself. You can see that this is like the third highest it's ever been. Reset to a reasonably comfortable level. It can come down a little further, as would price action come down a little further. Again, it's only a 3-day. We're above the 0 point on the 3-day here, all looking pretty good. And the daily still looking very good. The reason I say that is that we're about to have a positive cross on the MACD here above the 0 point, which would likely form continuation in this current run. Now, in the very, very short term, just to put it into context, because I know that Captain Noobmaster might be watching this, and he'll be, as soon as the video finishes, he'll ask his granny for some money. Oh, granny, I heard on the internet someone said it's going to keep going up. Yeah, I think that's very likely, but listen to me, Captain Noobmaster. We're at a major resistance. We've tagged more or less the 200 weekly moving average. It's a big deal. We've done what, 15% since we bought this dip. That's quite big for Bitcoin. We're trading 24-hour trading volume just around 10 billion. Let's have a think about what this is going to do in the very short term timeframes. Will we come down to retest the 23,300? Could easily do that. That's a 5.5% move. Are we going to come down to the Bollinger Band Center? That's just short of a 7% move. Backed up by this 10 exponential as well. If we get the moving averages to cross above the 23,300 zone, this would emphasize this area as a major support at this point now. Reclaiming this area and keeping it strong. At the moment, it can be given up quite easily. Now, if we go to a 4-hourly, because again, we've got to think about this, because Captain Noobmaster he's digging into the corner of his sofa right now, seeing what change he can find so he can pour it into this slot machine of crypto. What do we see here? Well, we do have a pump signal that was generated on this last stage of the pump from yesterday. That's fine. Again, moving average is only just about crossing above here, but the main thing to focus on would be overheated reads on the money flow index. 95 is basically, it's almost a 96. That's always a place to think about getting out, or at least not getting in. This is just short-term time frames. We can get picked up on any one of these moving averages. First one being the 7 simple, which is 23,800. Second one being the 10 exponential, which is 23,600. And then obviously the 23,300, which is a support, but I'd like to see it over the next few days. I want to see us being above there over the next few days, just to allow those daily moving averages to cross above and keep this area strong. Long story short, though, whether you are Captain Noobmaster and cannot wait to buy this and hope for the best, I think we're going to consolidate anyway. It's natural. We don't have to. Like I say, the higher term time frames suggest further upside, being the weekly and the 3-day suggest plenty more upside. Could even be had over the coming weeks. 32 to 38. Maybe even 40. Price action has a habit of going higher than expected and going lower than expected. That's absolutely normal with price action, because there's always the retailers and like I say, the Captain Noobmasters who keep FOMOing in to break those sell walls and keep pushing up. Just as Captain Noobmaster likes to sell the bottom because he can't take the pain, afraid of losing more, and is happy to sell at the lowest price in the hope that he'll be able to buy back lower. This is the psychology of trading. So yes, supports and moving averages and all this sort of stuff will work, because, well, basically it's like a hive mentality, isn't it? All these areas are marked off, not just from me, but from many other people using whatever indicator they use. They're all more or less based around price, volume, and time. And so whether you use fibs or you use moving averages or any other special indicator that you've paid $1,000 for, they're all going to be based around price, volume, and time. There is no other way to create indicators, and so that makes a lot of confluence across indicators of certain areas on the charts, and everybody sees that, and everybody takes the risk or exits the trades at the same sort of places for the most part. But then Captain Noobmaster will keep it going for a little longer in both directions, because they trade mostly based on emotion. So what I'm saying is, on the short-term timeframes, there's reason to expect a pullback, and we shouldn't even expect a pullback all the way back down to 23,300. That's okay. That's all fine. That's no problem. But personally, I'd like to see us get picked up before then. If we do consolidate today, this 24,500 more or less is where we are. If that gets supported and we ricochet from there and we go on, then I think 32,000 gets hit sooner rather than later, to be honest with you. I think based on what we see here on a 4-hourly, it seems more reasonable that we do consolidate. But you know what we've got to have a look at as well? We've got to focus on the Dixie, we've got to focus on the S&P, and those markets haven't opened yet. And I actually quite like the S&P, to be honest with you. I think the S&P has got the power to move up, and if that moves up, we should expect Bitcoin to move up through association with that. So Bitcoin can carry on with the power of Captain Noobmaster and traditional markets to make its way up to 30, 32, and maybe even a top target of around 38 or so. This is all perfectly realistic, absolutely not clickbait. This is real stuff. But bear in mind, look, if we were going to buy the dip, we buy the dip when I said to buy the dip. You know, it's not that I'm telling you to do anything. I'm telling you what I did. You know, this channel isn't about me telling you what to do. I'm not a signals group, not a financial advisor. I'm letting you know my trades. You know, put my heart on my sleeve in many ways. And I bought that dip, and I didn't hide the fact that I actually bought the dip with 20% of my available tether, which is quite a large portion to buy any dip with. And that was less than a week ago, and here we are. But it's like I say, we're not out of the woods yet. We're still below that 200 weekly moving average. We have to respect that no epic, super massive moves will take place over a long period of time until we've reclaimed that. Once that is reclaimed, that's a magical zone, I'm telling you, for institutions and big players to actually go, all right, what is all this Bitcoin stuff about then? We've done okay. We're above here. The risk to reward seems reasonable. I'm going in, boys. I'm going in. Bring back up that lorry's worth of cash and pour it into this account, because that's where it will start to happen. At the moment, it's still very early days. Either way, though, when it comes to playing around with altcoins, risky business. I've just got a couple up here that were left from the live stream. Recognize that Bitcoin's up 11%. We've got CRV up 5%. We've got Litecoin up 5%. You know, Bitcoin is the one at the moment, and this is normal. This is how the last bull market began. So just before we go, I'll just have a little look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, just to put things into perspective. And it's pumping. It's pumping. Now, altcoins are great. I love altcoins, obviously. I've got some altcoins that I bought during this bear market that are still doing pretty well, but they're more or less long-term investments. That's basically Algorand and Chainlink. That's investments. But from a trader's perspective, when it comes to altcoins, the biggest trades take place at areas on this chart, basically the dominance chart, looking for rejections anywhere within this zone, 47 to 49. Taking a position in altcoins or rotating some of your Bitcoins into altcoins at that level is likely to be a great idea. Right now, the market's moving as one. Obviously, altcoins are making money. That's fine. You're probably making money too. But if we're thinking about what the best way to play the market, which again is, you know, previously this is how we had to do it because it was such a small market anyway. You know, the entire market cap of Bitcoin and crypto and everything at the bottom of the last bull market, I think it was about 100 million, which is ridiculous to think that. So it's nothing at all. You know, 100 million, you see that moving into baby Doge, Elon, Mars, Mastercoin or whatever, you know, overnight now. But that was the way it was. And so the best way to play the market is through rotations. And by that, I mean, I'm in a Bitcoin position. I rotate into an altcoin position at certain areas on the chart that suggest rejection. I move back into Bitcoin when we're looking for supports. Blah, 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 blah. And so if that's the game we're sort of playing now, because it is like a game, I suppose now that we've broken above this 44% dominance, which would have been an area, I suppose, of potential rejection, we should look for this box. And as soon as we start entering this box, we look for excellent setups on the altcoin to Bitcoin pairs. And that's where we might find ourselves having an alt season. At the moment, we'll just see the market trend as one, and altcoins will probably do okay, but Bitcoin's likely to do better. And then what we do is we rotate some of that money, some of those Bitcoins into altcoins to then get the bigger moves, you know, the more extortionate moves, the violent moves that you get from altcoins, you know, the 100, 200 or so X's, not X's, percents probably at this level, but who knows. And that's where we do it. At the moment, we're not ready for that. This is actually a bullish chart here on the daily, as you can see, golden cross on exponentials and simples. We should be looking for this for continuation. and I'll start to tout an alt season, a proper one around here. And I say a proper one, it'll still only be a miniature one. Like I say, targeting, you know, with anything from a 50% to maybe a couple of 100% gains. But for the moment, I'll just sit in the Bitcoin that we bought on that dip and use that as my float for when an alt season comes around the corner. Anyways, quite a long video. I apologise for that, but I'm trying to boost my algorithm. And yeah, yesterday I asked you what socks you were wearing. I think the day before I asked you what you had for breakfast. So I'll tell you what you can do now just to help my algorithm, because I know that there's only so much you can comment on a channel like this. What's your favourite childhood film? You can tell me about that. The algorithm wants to know. I want to know. Tell me about it. Anyway, I hope you have a nice day, guys. Share, subscribe. Tell me about your childhood films. And check out the links in the description below, because there are many and they all offer a variety of benefits. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take it easy.